Hey everybody. This is Ian McHenry from Beyond Pricing, bringing you episode 8 of This Week in Airbnb and Beyond. We are 8 episodes in. Sorry for the delay. As always, we had a big couple of weeks here. Airbnb Open in Paris went down, and we have today Matteo Gamba from the blog All About Airbnb, which is even better than we are at breaking the latest news. If you haven't checked it out, you need to check it out. He sends me a lot of the exclusives that we talk about, including in the past when we talked about the Google AdWords test that Airbnb is doing. Mateo's an expert at uncovering all of this stuff, and we're really excited to have him here to lend his perspective and let us know what went down at Airbnb Open and all the big kind of product announcements there. So welcome to the program, Matteo. How are you doing?
Hi, Ian. Thanks for hosting.
Yeah,
all good here. Glad to be here and talking. Let's
great.
get it started. Yeah.
Great. And, first of all, glad to hear that you're back safely. This was a crazy time to be in Paris, a crazy time to have the Airbnb Open there. All the Beyond Pricing folks that were out there, all of our community members, we've heard back from most of them, and they survived okay, the attack. So at any rate, it's great to hear that you got back safe and sound.
Yeah, luckily everything was fine, and I think also Airbnb did quite a nice job getting in contact with the host community and with their employees and be sure that everybody was actually safe. I think that was also a nice touch. I mean, you would expect that from the company probably, and you can also see the involvement of the host community from Paris, and not just from Airbnb people that were just inviting people that were in the street that didn't know where to go to join their houses. There was a special hashtag on Twitter going around if people needed help. So I think that was also something showing how the great atmosphere that had been created at the Open was still kind of alive within the people. That was a positive thing within the very bad fact that happened on Friday.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible to see that really sort of happen and have the community do what it does best. I know Airbnb's done that in prior instances with the Hurricane Sandy and all these other things. So really opening up their homes and making sure. I know people had delayed flights and whatnot, and the host sounds like really kind of came together there. So anyway, wonderful to hear you're safe. I want to hear everyone else safe. The conference got cut short. I know they canceled the last day, but still, I think all the major product announcements came out. And so, Matteo, I'd love to hear your kind of breakdown. How'd that go down? How'd they present them? What are kind of the major highlights? And then we'll start diving into a couple of them.
Yeah, I think perfect. The most interesting part definitely was the product announcements, and I guess many of the hosts that joined. I think there were more than 5,000 people coming to Paris. We're really interested in hearing what the company was about to introduce and is about to launch and already launched. I think during the first day, the VP of product introduced most of the changes that are extremely relevant for hosts. There are 3 main areas of changes that are going to be affecting hosts that are using Airbnb as a platform. The first set is more around enabling hosts to learn how to be better hosts from each other. So enabling the community to share experiences and best practices. That's one big thing that Airbnb is trying to push through different features. And we can go more in details on each of them. Then the second section is probably about making the host community and the hosting process smarter and not harder. And that's where the whole smart pricing topic and the host assist and the better information about the incoming booking requests and the guests that you get are relevant for the hosts. And the third relevant area is how to increase the number of bookings and guests that you might be able to attract with your listing. And part of that is thanks to the increased focus on the business travel sector. So now hosts have the possibility to choose for the listings a set of attributes and enable their listing to be classified as business travel ready. So this is opening up quite a few interesting points for any host that is renting out their place on Airbnb, because until now, business travel sector has been a little bit neglected by Airbnb. The focus has been growing in the last year, in the last 6 months, also building an actual product for travelers and for companies. But that's also great news because there are a few aspects of business travelers that are really key to increase the number of bookings. First of all, the lack of seasonality and the repeated usage of these kind of users. That it's something that every host will be happy to welcome. So this is the three main areas. Is there any specific one that you would like to start and to go a little bit more in depth to analyze?
Yeah. Let's jump in. So on it seems like the biggest sort of trend here is that Airbnb is really expanding from just being a listing site, a place where you can just list your place, and now they really want to give you sort of all the tools to kind of run your business, right? And be more, we don't want to say more like a hotel, but more like a complete solution, right? So hotels have always had, some sort of kind of revenue management and pricing stuff, until now, really you had to use obviously beyond pricing, or some other kind of way to figure out your prices. Now they're helping you with that element of it. Now with with Host Assist, like you mentioned, ways to automate a lot of other sorts of things around your kind of micro business, and with kind of filling in that big gap that they had before, which is business travelers, where they for a hotel that's usually in most places a decent chunk of business, especially in cities, which helps kind of deal with the down season, right? In Chicago in winter, there's not too many people saying, hey, this would be a great time for a family vacation. It's mostly business travelers doing business there. And so now by kind of solving a lot of the issues that business travelers had with Airbnbs in terms of access, being able to get into houses beforehand, at any time of night, and not having to wait for a key drop off. It seems like, these announcements are kind of this complete picture that really lets Airbnb compete with hotels more. But let's jump in first, Matteo, to the Host Assist and the kind of smart pricing that they talked about, because I think underneath all of that too is something that you had predicted, which is Airbnb finally opening up so that the data that's inside there can start communicating with other services and opening up that API. So let's start in there. Give us a quick overview of what Host Assist included. What are the kind of key elements there that they announced?
Yeah, definitely. So the Host Assist is basically a set of connection between Airbnb and different providers of services that are helpful for hosts to run better their business. As you were saying, this is really helping hosts to be more professional, to run their business in a better way through different services like key drop-off, check-ins, and automated key handling and cleanings. There is plenty of different services that are already are born around Airbnb. And this kind of ecosystem has started thriving in the last years. And you can see already with beyond pricing, that's something that really helps a host to do a better job. That improves the functionality that Airbnb is offering. What Airbnb is doing now is starting opening up officially and collaborating officially with other providers after having tested themselves this kind of services. Concierge and key drop-off, cleaning, it's all things that Airbnb tested themselves on a much smaller scale in a couple of key cities. Probably what they realize is that it doesn't make much sense to differentiate that much, bringing a lack of focus on what they're actually doing, their core business, and that is making hosting easier and better, providing a platform that allows that. And as every major company and tech company, what is happening is that Airbnb is also opening up to a more technical integration with other company and websites. And what you can see if you go on airbnb.com/hostassist is a selection of the services that will be available for your listing. So you will not see a list of all the possible partners, only the ones that will actually be relevant for you. So if in your city a service is not available yet, unfortunately that will not be there will be not, you could not see, you will not be able to see anything in particular. But in the major cities, most of the listings are already covered. From my point of view, it's still quite of a limited set of services. It's mostly we're mostly talking about key handling and that kind of stuff. Not much more. No property management, no pricing optimization yet. And we know that the possibilities opened by within the Airbnb ecosystem are quite a lot. It's not just limited to a simple key handling. It can enable a lot of different things. It could even enable travel websites to build a better travel experience. Local guides to access the listings of a person, event organizers to build and to recommend in a better way Airbnb places. Laundry, key handling, cleaning, it's the basic to enable a host to be more professional, and as you said, welcome business travelers in a better way. So definitely that's a big focus from Airbnb. What you were saying, you were talking about the Airbnb API. That's from my point of view a very important aspect that has not been officially announced by Airbnb, but it's clearly recognizable in the wild. So you can see that these services are gonna be powered, are gonna be connected through to Airbnb thanks to the API. API is basically a technical term to define a connection between two different sites in a standardized way, to put it in an easy word. And that's basically what main tech companies use to enable others to build services on top of what they're actually doing without losing focus and still maintaining control over the ecosystem. And at the moment, I think that's a starting point for Airbnb. Even if they didn't specifically announce it during the open, talking with people, that seems to be quite clearly a focus for the company in the upcoming future. And you can already see, as we said, services and other platforms that are already making use of that, even if not widely promoted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think, Matteo, why do you think they decided to, you mentioned kind of, that they had done some of this stuff internally and now they're doing it externally. They had kind of that trial with Handy and with HomeJoy, which is no longer around, where you could just have it automatically schedule a clean with them. Now they're kind of opening that up more broadly so that, your cleaners can get can integrate with Airbnb and get that information automatically, and it kind of makes it much more broadly. And so in those cases, this is kind of opening, and they're deciding not to tightly control this, through the same way that they did with cleaning before. Same thing with sort of the locks. It just opens up the API, and then if you have a smart lock that's integrated, it'll, for instance, automatically create a key code based on when someone's supposed to check in, and then that system could potentially send that code. We'll see if Airbnb starts allowing you to push codes back in. Actually, that's a good question. Did they talk about that, Matteo? Do they go into detail on the locks? Like, is it just simply you pull out reservation? So if I'm using like a Quickset or one of those guys, it can automatically create key codes, and then Quickset maybe sends an email there. Did they talk more about how the lock integration might actually work?
Actually, they didn't really go into details about any specific service. They just explained that they are easily discoverable, and at the moment, the hostesses seems more or less like a showcase of different services. I still haven't had the possibility to see how the integration actually works between these different services, and what kind of what level of communication the Airbnb and the external services have. It might even be that at the moment it's just a showcase, as I was saying, because that's the easiest way to get it started, to understand if there is interest, and to get a starting point where to start building something more out of that. But definitely, what you're saying is something that would be extremely interesting, and would be even more convenient for a host if you don't have to handle multiple websites, but you can just worry about one single one. You think about Airbnb, you have a booking, and everything happens in the background automatically under the hood. Everything, the guest get information that he needs to get. You get the money, everybody happy.
Yeah, I mean, think of it seems like the key exchange is one of those that has always been a difficult thing for guests and for hosts, right? Which is, hey, if I'm going to show up somewhere, I'm always considering, and I know this from staying in Airbnb, staying in VRBOs, the thing that deters me often is, if I'm going to a hotel, there's somebody there, and I just walk in, I get my key, and I can go to bed, right? Especially when you've been traveling forever. For an Airbnb, you're like, God, am I gonna?
There's always this incognito, you're not sure what's gonna happen. It might be that something as a guest during your trip goes wrong. You have a delay, you have a flight, missed flight. What's gonna happen? Is the host gonna be there or not? And especially for business travelers, that's something that you don't want to be in. You want to be sure that you will have a place where to spend the night. And that's it. It's not just about that. It's also enabling hosts to be entrepreneurs with this kind of business remotely. One of the side talks during the Open was indeed being a remote hostpreneur. So being able to run a host activity from abroad, from another country, from another city, without having to be physically in the place where the listing is and where the guests come. And this kind of solutions, it's what is needed to enable that kind of business that otherwise would not be possible unless you hire someone. You have a trusted person that take care of that, but that's also adding more costs on your side. If you have a key lock, if you have a smart way to handle your inventory remotely, to monitor the house, to manage the cleaning, that's just adding a lot of simplicity to your job. You can even think about scaling more and do more than just one listing. So that's just very good news for the host community, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, as a host, when you have a check-in, that's just kind of, especially as a remote host, there's certain things that just need to be done, right? Like I have a place in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is about an hour and a half south of San Francisco, where we're based, right? And when somebody checks out, it's got to be cleaned. We have a lockbox because it's a single-family house. It's easy to get in, and keys can go there. But if we didn't, we need to make sure that the next person can get the keys, or we'll probably install a smart lock fairly soon, so that we don't want to have to go, okay, when someone checks out, I need to call my cleaner and make sure that they show up and clean it, and then B, I need to set a new passcode on my smart locks, and then I need to send it to them. Presumably with all these API integrations, all that can just happen automatically. And then if I have instant book enabled, and I just simply trust Airbnb to only let high quality guests book my place, then all my bookings are happening, the guests are being let in, and then maybe for any questions, I'm using somebody like Guesty outsourced to deal with those and handle lockouts and whatnot. All of a sudden it seems like the house is almost as automated as a hotel might be. I mean, do you think that is that what are the advantages and disadvantages to Airbnb of that being the case, right? Because they always talk about wanting it to be more personal, but honestly, for my place, and it could, on the other hand, they're also helping everyone be more automated. Do you think that's kind of against the Airbnb ethos, or can the two coexist, Matteo? What do you think?
The two kind of hosting experiences that you have. So from one side, they have the very professional ones that run Airbnb as a business. So in that case, most of the cases you have the entire place for yourself. You don't have the host around. Maybe you don't really care about the whole hosting experience and what really makes Airbnb special. You just need a place to stay that is more convenient than a hotel, that gives you more space, more autonomy. And in that case, it's definitely more important to be able to automate this kind of stuff, to allow the host and the guest to be more efficient. On the other hand, you have the more personal experience that is what I think really made Airbnb what Airbnb is today, and allow the community to grow at the point where we talk more about Airbnb than hotels. Right. That is, you stay in a place that has an extra room, or where the host is welcoming you. And in that case, I still perceive the personal touch as a key component. And that's where I personally like Airbnb more. Also, both from a host and a guest side. As a host, I like to be there when the guest is coming. It's good to be able to welcome them, to show them around, both to give them a sense of welcoming, but also to be sure that who's coming to your place is a nice person, that is actually the person that booked the trip, that knows what to do, that the whole experience will be a good one. If you leave the keys and people come, they don't know what to do, unless you're really prepared and you have every detail, there might always be some unanswered question that is there. So it's always this trade-off between automation and increased efficiency, but on the other hand, it's the authentic experience and connection that you build and that you create when you use Airbnb. So I think that's the right way to look at it. It's to split and to differentiate the use cases that you have for people using the platform.
Yeah, it's I have a good friend that started the company Relay Rides. I don't know if they have, and there's also Get Around. I forget.
They actually rebranded now. They changed the name.
Right, I should say Turo. Is that right?
Yeah.
But they're in Europe as well, right?
They're just launching. Actually, I talked with one of the guys a few weeks ago. They're looking into expanding in the European market. And at the Airbnb Open, there was Drivey, another competitor of theirs. It's always based on the Airbnb and social sharing economy. So you can see, as Airbnb is not opening up just to rentals, but also it enabled a whole new way of doing business. So it's not just that anymore. And you can see that on Airbnb itself as well. That's also something that was left off a little bit from the open without a lot of focus. But I think that will be coming more and more and more in the future. Just in the previous week before the Airbnb Open, there were some hints about these Airbnb experiences and journeys as extra guest possibilities. And that's something that Airbnb has been testing in the past. So enabling hosts to offer not just their place as what they sell as a product, but also the experiences. So the existing product that is on Airbnb for the experiences is available only in Paris and in San Francisco. But I would definitely see that as another way to expand the business for the business possibilities for hosts. That was one of the key moments in the final keynote from Brian Chesky, in which he showed how the life of a tourist, well, let's not call it tourist, the life of a traveler should be in a country, and that involves also the personal experiences that a host, a personal host, should be able to provide. Not just giving you a shelter, a place to sleep, but also telling you about the places in your neighborhoods, making you discover new things and connect with the local neighborhoods. And that's, I think, part of the whole Airbnb experience that will be enhanced in the future. So that's definitely another interesting area to keep an eye on, because it will be enabling hosts that are a little bit more entrepreneurial and not just looking only to rent out a place, but to build a wider business that they could actually get something more out of Airbnb.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was interesting. I want to touch on that real quick. But first, the interesting thing about kind of like you said, at its core, there's kind of two aspects to Airbnb. One is the sharing aspect, where you kind of share something that you own, right, and get higher utilization out of it. If I'm not using my home, someone else can use it, right? And that's kind of what Turo and Get Around did with cars, which was, hey, I'm not using my car most of the time here. Why don't you use it? And then but they had the same challenge that Airbnb has, and they solved it very early on, which is, I'd love for someone to use my car, but God, trying to meet somebody to just rent my car for a few days is such a pain in the butt, to go change keys. And then they kind of solved that with technology. And then, there you can see kind of when you're looking for a car and you say, hey, look, I just want a car that I can access automatically, right? And if you didn't do that, you're at a huge disadvantage. If you had a car where someone actually had to pick up the keys, like, it better be a really cool car.
And you also did it at the right time, because Airbnb, you book it online, you know when you're gonna get it, you know where the place is. For a car, if you travel somewhere, you probably need it at the airport. That's the place where you're gonna pick up the car. And that's, I think, quite of a big limitation of that business model. Really finding a way to connect the demand and the supply. That Airbnb had some issues that now is solving, that got solved in the past. The complications for both sides are much less now. But for all these social economy businesses, very similar challenges are in front of them.
Yeah. I mean, do you think for Airbnb, going back to the example of Access, do you think they'll start listing kind of or having a filter for listings that I guess how they would define it is, either saying, hey, it has 24-hour access, whatever that means, or saying it's a automatic door, keypad or smart lock, or it's a key cafe pickup. Key cafe, if people don't know, is a way where you can kind of go to a cafe or a bar or somewhere else where one of these things is installed, and you just kind of like a locker, you just enter either through your smartphone, through a QR code, or you enter a code and the key's there, and then you return it there, so you can track all of that. Do you think they'll start kind of listing that, so that'll be a filter, so guests will know, hey, I only want places where I don't have to, wait for the host to show up? Do you think
what I think is what is already happening, for example, with a business travel ready functionality. That's basically the Airbnb ensuring that hosts and listings are up to the expectations of a specific set of guests. And what that means is business travel ready means that you have to fulfill certain quality standards, but also that you need to have certain amenities. As you were talking about adding filters, what they're going to be doing, they're probably going to be adding a filter that is show me only business travel ready listings, and that will include stuff like 24-hour service and cleaning and everything that you want to have to be sure that the listing is the right one for you. I'm not so sure about the adding extra filter functionality for very much more specific things like automatic key dropping or cleaning service and stuff like that. What I believe that is the path for Airbnb is more understanding from their end their guests and hosts much better, getting more data about the usage, about the preferences of each side, and try to match as much as possible a guest with a perfect host and perfect listing. So that's a lot of big data and smart algorithm behind, and that's already happening. If you search Airbnb with 2 different accounts, the search results that you will get are personalized based on your previous searches, previous behavior and preferences. And I think that's the path, rather than letting users make a choice. And that's should be the goal of every company, of every website. Try to reduce as much as possible the interactions that a user have and deliver the best possible product in front of them, so that the drop in conversion would be the minimal as possible.
Yep. No, absolutely. Hey, and just to confirm, I did look in, and it's not in the same spot that their major options are, which is instant booking and Superhost. But under amenities, I hadn't noticed this before, and I don't know how recent it is. Under amenities, 24-hour check-in is now one of those amenities that you can suggest. So if there are any hosts out there listening, we'll see if this becomes more prominent, but I'm actually going to go in right now and, for my property, update it to make sure I include the fact that it is 24-hour check-in. Had you seen that before, Matteo?
No, I think that's probably a recent addition included to the testings that Airbnb is running. For example, for me, I don't see that. Airbnb is running tons of tests on a daily basis on each user. For example, what I'm seeing now on the map is an instant book prominently shown in black. So really pushing that as a category of listing.
What is that?
It's basically on the map. You can see on the right side, next to language and currency, a black marker with Istanbul next to it. That is also showing on all the little labels on the map, very clearly differentiation between normal listings and instant booking listings. So what I will suggest to every host out there that actually have good listings and that care about getting more reservations is to, first of all, optimize for business ready. Not everybody can be business ready, because, as I was saying before, you need to have certain to meet certain quality criteria. So first of all, work hard to get those quality criteria high. That's part of the same job that you would do to try to become a super host. And once you have that, be sure to list the right amenities that will qualify you as a business travel ready. because that's something that will probably change a lot in the future as Airbnb starts working more with companies, especially during events and conventions. That's something that you want to be. It's where Airbnb can really challenge hotels in the end. Hotels are still quite a preferred choice for most of the companies, for both their history. I mean, people are just used to use hotels, but also for the lack of convenience that was there until now. But if you make sure that your listing is ready, then these people will also be a very good host, very good guest, willing to pay also premium price compared to normal guests. They're not paying for it. The company is doing that. Everybody's happy to spend less money, but you will probably be able to get a little bit more out of that. So definitely look into that.
Yeah, so we'll get back to experiences in a second, but on that topic for business travel, you mentioned some stuff on your blog about the different credit card deals that they have now, and the debit card deals. One thing too that we missed talking about was, I think they also announced a Virgin America partnership where you can earn.
They did a while ago. That was done on the same day, I think, of the
experiences,
the American Express one. So the American Express partnership took much more. Was much more pushed because also from a product integration point of view, it was much deeper. You can now sign up to Airbnb using your American Express credentials. I'm not sure how many people will actually do that. It's probably more of a hassle than not.
Can you use American Express points to book?
You can do that, I think. So you can do that, and you can pay using American Express points to book Airbnb. So it's a much deeper integration. It's not just one of the coupons that were given to American Express holders before, and that's why it was not the Virgin Corporation was not pushed as much. But you definitely see Airbnb going much more into the partnership game with big corporations and with those companies that can help Airbnb to reach a different level of awareness in the consumer mindset, and that's part as well of the bigger picture and the bigger plan that Airbnb has to become a super brand. What the CMO Jonathan was talking about at the Open, that was extremely interesting to see how the company is aiming to become a very global brand with an extremely wide recognition. It's still, you would probably not expect that, but the surveys that they showed us showed how in the US, I think at the moment the awareness about Airbnb is quite low compared to what you would expect. It's like less than 20% of the people know what Airbnb is and what they do, while in other countries that's more. And the goal of Airbnb from a marketing point of view is to increase this aided brand awareness. And what it did throughout the year is to create different marketing campaigns that made Airbnb appear more in the news, and thus make more guests be aware of the possibilities of Airbnb, and that's definitely helping also on the host side, because the more marketing you do, the more people you get on the platform, the more guests you can attract. Obviously, there is still competition because you don't just attract new guests, you also attract new hosts. But that's definitely something that the company is really trying to push very hard. And this year, given the marketing activities that have been done, I think in most of the key markets that Airbnb is focusing on at the moment, is Australia, UK, US, Germany, and France, they were able to raise the awareness by more than 10 basic points. And the only market that's surprisingly lagging behind is the US, where now about 25% of the people know what Airbnb is and what Airbnb does. And the goal is for the end of the year is to go even more and to be able to get to at least 28%. I think that was in the targets for the company. So that's definitely an interesting push that the company is doing, and will be relevant and interesting to see how things develop even further during the next year.
Yeah, it is interesting because the US has traditionally kind of been dominated by these kind of large hotel brands. About 70% or so of all hotels are under one of the 5 major brands, Marriott, Hilton, whatever. And Europe has always been different in that they embrace more so the kind of small independent hotels, and it kind of makes sense that Airbnb would be better known there as well. Just culturally and in terms of accommodation, people are kind of more open to this kind of unique accommodation, right? It's not just cookie cutter hotels there as much. Last part I kind of want to just tag on though, coming back to Virgin America, you were saying there's all these ways that Airbnb is becoming more and more equivalent to hotels. Do you think that they'll have their own loyalty program right now? The big change for Virgin, right, was all these other ones like with American Express and whatnot. It was rewarding people for signing up and staying for an Airbnb, and more or less it was either that, which is just customer acquisition costs. They know that they can pay $25-$50, whatever it is, to acquire a customer, and so that can be in any form. That can be giving you free Amex miles. It can be any of these other sorts of things, giving you $100 off your first stay. For them, that's just marketing and customer acquisition. Or if you can redeem American Express points for Airbnb, that doesn't cost them anything. The American Express is basically for those points paying Airbnb.
Yeah, I would say that definitely that's a very interesting path. I'm not so sure Airbnb really needs that because their brand loyalty is extremely high. The customer lifetime value is also extremely good. People stick with Airbnb. What is interesting, so HouseTrip, for example, is a competitor of Airbnb, and they went down that route. They offered after every 10 nights that you were booking, the 11th was offered for free. So it's something that in the industry has been tried. And even Airbnb, I don't know if you read my last blog post, recently started testing exactly this. Well, they didn't really start testing it. They put up a website in which they were exploring the possibility of Airbnb travel money card. Basically, what was online and now has been pulled out after I published the article, and was taken by a few other media outlets. So after TechCrunch wrote them, they took everything offline, but you can still see the screenshot and the description on the blog. And basically, what the description was of a card, a prepaid card for people traveling to New York, that was given up to $1,000 of credit, basically to spend offline or online as well, and those money, what would have happened at the end of the trip, you would have been billed through Airbnb directly for the amount that you had spent. Plus on top, 10% would have been a cashback, basically. So that's a little bit of a combination between, as I said, a cashback solution, but also a reward system. It's something that hasn't gone live yet. I don't know if they will actually do it in the end after they took it offline. But that shows that Airbnb is thinking about this kind of stuff. We'll see if that will translate into something more concrete, rather integrated within the product to increase the loyalty of the users. Even if my view is that people will still stick with Airbnb for quite a while. So the need to do something like that, Airbnb is not really pushing for coupons and discounts as many other companies are doing as a promotional ways to retain users, to engage more. They base their the retention strategy more on engagement and offering a great service and a good experience rather than paying for users to come back. But you never know. I mean, also you can't really consider all the customers in the same way. So there might be some segments that you might want to reactivate a little bit more, that you want to engage. That for business users, that also might be something. That's also quite common for businesses to have some kind of discounts and loyalty programs because it's easier to switch. You're more cost sensitive. You need to care about the budget. You do things more often. So that kind of topic probably will come up a little bit more in relationship with the business side of the product. But otherwise, I received yesterday an email from PayPal, actually, of a promotion that they're co-running with Airbnb, giving away $50 discount if you pay through PayPal. So you see also those kind of cooperation. I will have to write a blog post about that, but it's also an interesting thing for American customers through a special promotion. It's built around a dedicated website with a nice concept that is more of a link bait to both drive traffic to Airbnb and to raise awareness about PayPal. But that's also one of the many partnerships that Airbnb is doing. They had a few. Yeah.
I mean, that was sent to you as a PayPal customer.
As a PayPal customer, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so there you go again. That's they're trying to acquire new users, presumably, right?
Exactly.
Trying to access all those great PayPal users, I assume.
Yeah, PayPal has a lot of reach in the US. It's one of the default payment options that are available on Airbnb since the very beginning, and it's a good way to try to attract more users. $50 is, I think, more or less in line with acquisition costs that Airbnb might have for a new user. So if you get access to a very wide user base with just an email communication, an email blast, and with something that is nice, because the product that the website they're promoting is kind of a nice idea. That's something interesting to try.
Yeah. So how are you finding all this, Matteo? What's your secret here?
Well, this one was through a friend, and otherwise, I don't know, just happened. I think on the blog.
I'm not going to give away your secrets.
No. I mean, on the blog, I have a newsletter. Some people write me back and send me tips. That's also a way. And then it's just observing the website and knowing how it works and knowing where to search for things, and you can find that things out. It's more or less focusing on something, and you will find a new things popping up.
Well, it's really impressive for all of our listeners. You really got to check it out. He's way ahead of all this. Send Matteo tips too if you see stuff. I know we've had users write in after we stole some intelligence from All About Airbnb blog, and they wrote in and showed us that, and so it's really uncovering some really neat stuff. So definitely everyone needs to check that out and subscribe to the newsletter for All About Airbnb. One of the things too that you broke early is and I just realized that it's completely removed. You broke early the kind of shutting down or the transitioning of the community groups, and now it looks like it's gone. You mentioned too that they announced sort of this new affiliated with Host Assist, a way for hosts to help each other and earn points or whatnot. Is that live? Where can hosts find that kind of on the Airbnb site right now?
So basically, what you're talking about is the community center. what Airbnb announced very quietly a couple of weeks ago. You could find an FAQ talking about that. You could see also some hosts talking about it on a few forums. It's basically that the groups were being shut down soon. Groups was a product launched by Airbnb a couple of years ago that never really gained traction. It was supposed to boost the community aspect and allow hosts to communicate and to share experiences. It was built on a very early product that very early features that Airbnb had, through which was pulling information from your Facebook profile, was seeing the interest that you have, and was grouping people around, let's say, photographers or ski lovers, but didn't really have a very big focus. With groups, Airbnb tried to do something like that, but you could see that the product was not really followed, that people were not too happy. There was spam. It was not easy to find things. There was not an easy way to communicate with Airbnb. And all of these are the things that the company tried to improve, talking with hosts, understanding what they actually needed, setting focus groups. And what has been done is basically a forum. It's a classic forum in which hosts can join using their Airbnb account. And through there, they can discuss about things, about their hosting experience, about their questions, on how to improve their hosting qualities, understanding what are the new things that are coming from Airbnb. So Airbnb is also going to be using that as a way to push information towards hosts and feature changes and ask for feedback from the users. So it's what do you really expect from a properly built forum? We still have to see how well that will work. So you can access that by going on community.airbnb.com, and you will be asked to access the website through the Airbnb API, actually. And you will connect to your Airbnb account, and in that way you will have access to the forum. And there, I would just say, okay, go ahead and explore what other hosts are saying. There are a few categories, and that will grow more over time. At the moment, it was one of the main topics was around the Airbnb host that was in Paris. One way that it was also used, as we know, the horrible events that happened on Friday in Paris, Airbnb used the community center also as a way to ensure that and to communicate with people that were at the Airbnb Open, to be sure that everybody was fine. So hosts that were already on the community center could see that section, could communicate with others, and find a way to react together to what happened.
Wait, and I just took a look right now, and I see it. This is actually really cool. Is it I, as a host, didn't get an email about it. It doesn't seem to be. I don't know how you navigate to it from.
You don't really do navigate from Airbnb yet. It was presented at Airbnb Open. To know about it, you either had to attend the Airbnb Open or to read online from who covered the topic already. This is one of the things that I will have to write a little bit more about on the blog. So if you stay focused, you will see a little bit more about that and all the details about the other topics that Airbnb talked about at the Airbnb Open, the new features that got announced, and what are the implications for the host. It's definitely something interesting. It's for now available only in English and for a few cities. What Airbnb committed to is to release more and more cities every month. I think around 10 cities every month. That was what we were talking about during the keynote. So there is commitment from the company. Let's see if this will evolve in something that is actually helpful for hosts, or what direction it will take. But that's something interesting to see how it will evolve. You can also see that the community center shares a little bit of the design changes that the FAQ section now have of Airbnb. So if you go on airbnb.com/help, you will see that it has a slightly different design. At least it had it in the last days. Now a bit less. But yeah, so those are two complementary things. On one hand, you have the frequently asked questions. So that's a self-serving platform that Airbnb uses to deflect contacts that otherwise will come to the customer support team and would not be possible to handle given the quantity of and amount of people that are using the platform. And that's probably more focus on the guest side. While the community center is allowing people and hosts in particular to find answers to their questions through the community. So there will be a counterpart on the other side that is either an admin or a very interested other person on the other side that will give you answers to your questions. One other thing that got introduced during the Airbnb Open was the host toolkit, and that's another way for hosts to become better hosts. What is this Airbnb toolkit? It's basically a set of classes of video lessons that will teach you it's basically a manual on how to be a good host. I'm sure there are a few people online that would not be too happy about that, because there is someone that is making quite some money selling courses and selling how to be a successful host and this kind of stuff. And that's basically what Airbnb built. They want to improve the quality of their hosting experience, and by doing that, they created something that doesn't really require people to interact with Airbnb. You just go on this website, you find I think it's around 6 themes. In each of these themes, you have about 10 lessons or something like that that you can self-follow. You can see the progresses you're going through. It's basically like an e-learning platform. Actually, it's based on an external e-learning platform. It's not really has not been built in-house by Airbnb. So also that is something that you can see how Airbnb is testing new things, but not fully 100% committing to that by building it in-house, because also doesn't really make much sense if you still need to understand if that's something that is going to work for you. You want to work with something that enables you to quickly roll out and test new things, get learnings and throw things out. So that's also something good for both new hosts, but also those that are already have a listing. Just go ahead and take a look at it. It's on Airbnb -toolkits.com.
What is it again?
Airbnb -toolkits.com. Airbnb -toolkits.com. Yeah.
Airbnb toolkits.com. All right. Well, we'll have to have people check that out. It seems like they had previously done, with Chip Conley coming on, a year or so ago, they kind of had developed their hospitality guidelines, right? And had that.
So
it sounds
that's
like
basically an expansion of something like that. So the hospitality standard is what you want to people to understand. And this product helps people to get to that point. So hospitality standard is a set of 9 different golden rules that you have to follow as a host to provide a good experience to your guests. And these tutorials help you to reach that status, to understand how to get a better experience for your guests, and consequently how to optimize your revenues.
Yeah. So all of this stuff is interesting. Airbnb is clearly focusing on creating a better platform. Do you you know, really kind of pull away and be, the go-to place for this kind of short-term rental. Like you mentioned, the U.S., they don't have as much awareness. A lot of people, especially non-millennials, know HomeAway and VRBO better. And we just had Expedia, pretty much, along with Booking.com, the largest travel booking sites in the world.
Buying HomeAway.
Yeah, buying HomeAway. Do you think like that acquisition will mean that Airbnb is going to have to now compete, and will Expedia really start to fully compete with them in this? What do you think that means? What do you think the future is? Will people still kind of be devoted to the Airbnb platform, or will they start being more like a hotel and be on multiple listing sites? So, talk a bit about that. What do you think the significance of Expedia deal is? What do you think the future is in terms of these millions of folks that Airbnb has? Can they retain them, or will a bunch of other people start siphoning off some of that?
Yeah, so I really believe that the Expedia deal will not make much of a difference for Airbnb. Seems more like a desperate move from someone that is not in the game to try to find a way to get inside. Expedia, on the contrary of Booking has been pushing for private listings and for private rentals. Expedia didn't really have that product and decided to go for the merger and acquisition of another company, probably the biggest competitor direct competitor of Airbnb. That still was focused on a very different business model. It's much more focused on vacation rentals. That is something that Airbnb is actually pushing much more. It's one of the three main areas that have been identified as a growth leverage for Airbnb. As we said, business travel is one, vacation rental is another one, and Chinese guests, that's another one. But I don't think that will be a big problem for Airbnb. I think the guest community, it's really very loyal to the brand. And unless Airbnb royally screw things up, they, for quite a few years, they will be able to grow much more and to reach the super brand status that they are trying to achieve. So what they want to be, what they aspire to be, is the Coke that was in the 80s, the Nike of the 90s, the Apple of the 2000. They want to be the iconic brand that exemplifies this last years. So if that's the goal, if they can reach that, and they are on a good track to do it, obviously it will be very hard for others to compete in this market. If you look at the data, we were talking about the brand awareness that Airbnb has is still very low compared to Expedia and Booking. Expedia and Booking, something like 70-80% of the people in the US in particular know about that. But that's also, I mean, Booking is running Super Bowl ads, spending $1 million bucks to be in the front line. Airbnb has not done that yet. Or I'm not sure. Maybe was it actually running a Super Bowl spot last year? I don't remember that. Maybe. But saying that Booking has been on the market since 2 decades, probably. Airbnb less than 1. And the growth, that's what you have to look at, where the growth is coming. Those other platforms are not really growing at the same levels as Airbnb, and the market is ripe for disruption. So I think it's more, also from the hotel side, you could see how a couple of days ago there was a big merge between two very big hotel chains.
Starwood and Marriott.
Marriott, bought Starwood hotels. That's something that clearly shows how also the hotel industry is preparing to deal with something that is a big challenge for them. not everybody's ready to compete with kind of a paradigmatic change in the whole consumer and travelers mindset. It's not just changing a provider of accommodation. It's changing the mindset of how you travel. So not just going to a hotel and going to to see the Tour Eiffel or the Louvre and the Mona Lisa, but experiencing Paris, for example. That was the example that was given by Brian Cheskin during the Open, through the eyes of the local, through the experiences that you can live thanks to what Airbnb can offer, not just as a lodging platform, but also as what you can offer in terms of extra experiences. So I would not really compare the two different things, because other companies are just focusing on providing you an accommodation, and that's not what Airbnb is doing anymore. It's going beyond that. It has already been happening. It's going to be much more of a focus in the future. The whole mantra of the company and the vision is to belong anywhere. It's not just providing you a place to stay. So also from that statement, you really understand how different the mission of the company is. It's not just to provide you a place to sleep.
Yeah. It's incredibly interesting to see, that this is just sort of the more that they can create this identity, right? As for guests as well as for hosts, but especially for guests, that I'm not just somebody that books a room or a hotel room. I'm not, if I'm the kind of person that likes to live like a local, wants to belong anywhere or whatever it is, if I adhere to sort of that brand and that identity, this is the site for me, right? And I use it for accommodation. Now I use it for experiences, but it's more of a brand identity than really just a place to transact and find a place to sleep, right? And it seems like that's the vision. That's what they're executing down. And so, yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Maybe that's it. Everyone else is, there's no culture, there's no brand identity to Expedia, right?
It's a very different kind of game, let's say.
Yep, it's like Google. Google, they say, don't be evil or whatever it might be, but really, at the end of the day, Google succeeds because it gets you the best results, and it's very kind of transactional. It as long as it can produce the best results for you and make that efficient, then great, and then you go on your merry way. It's not really a place of, there's no culture and community there and feeling with that. Whereas Airbnb, same thing with booking. Like they just want to find the place, book it, and be done. Airbnb is kind of, if they can execute on that, hey, identify myself with that brand, and this is the kind of person I am, and then then like you said, even without a loyalty program, they're able to retain guests incredibly well.
Yeah, definitely. That's really how the company is moving forwards, and that will definitely be interesting seeing how things develop.
Great. Well, awesome. This might be our longest episode ever. This is a ton of information, really useful. No, in a good way, Matteo. At any rate, again, this is Matteo Gamba. Has been awesome for being here. Check out his blog. It's All About Airbnb, -inbetween.com. Anything else you like to plug here, Matteo? Nope. All right. Well, perfect. Check that out. Definitely subscribe. If you're listening to This Week in Airbnb and Beyond, then you definitely should be checking out his blog. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, perfect. that's perfect. So just as a quick recap, if you want to look at the most recent product announcement that Airbnb did during the Open, there is a very brief recap post on the blog. More will come soon, explaining in details each of them. So just stay focused, and you will find all the information that you need.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much, Matteo. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah, of course. And for everybody else, listen, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Stitcher, subscribe on SoundCloud. And until next time, thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.